Hey guys, it's Heather. Welcome back. Today I am sharing with you all of my beauty tips and tricks and common mistakes that I make and that I'm sure a lot of you guys make and ways to fix them. So if that sounds interesting, then just keep on watching. And I tried to narrow it down to 10 of my top ones, but as I'm going through, I have more that I'm like, oh, I should have done this one or I should have done that one. So if you like these and you want me to make another one, let me know down below in the comments. So let's just get started. Some of these you may know, some of you may be newer to makeup and you have no idea. So I hope that this helps you in some way, shape, or form. So let's get started. All right, so I have my foundation on. Today I'm using the Makeup Forever and I have the shade Y325. So my first little trick is for concealer. My personal favorites are the Shape Tape, the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, or the Maybelline Age Rewind Concealer. These two are drugstore. They're really good, and the good thing about them is that they are hydrating, so they're not going to dry out your under eye if you have fine lines. If you get crepey under your under eyes, you want to get something that has a lot of hydration in it. So I'm going to do the e.l.f. one today, and I'm just going to show you a little trick if you're struggling with it looking dry and crusty under your under eye. So you don't need to go in with a lot. So I prefer to use a flat, angle taper brush. And I'm just gonna blend that in quickly. Next, I'm gonna set it down. Today I'm using the IT powder. This is the Bye Bye Pores. And the shade is a translucent. And I'm just dusting that. And I'm just tapping. So it's just a tapping, sweeping motion. So once that's set down, if you're noticing that it's really accentuating your fine lines, it's looking crepey or crusty, this is what you want to do. Get yourself a beauty sponge and a little bit of MAC Fix Plus. This comes in handy a couple times in this video. So if you don't have this, this is something that I would recommend getting. I really don't know that there's an exact drugstore dupe that is exact to this. The Make It Last by Milani is good, but I haven't found anything that's as good as this for fixing something powdery or cakey looking. So what I do is I just spritz a little bit onto the top of my beauty blender, just one spray. And you want to obviously use the point so you can get in there really close and just gently tap it down. And that's going to help fix things a bit and add that hydration back in. And that will just help fix any of that crepiness. And I will also say that the more fine lines you have, the less you want to go in on your concealer, or maybe just dab a little bit onto your ring finger and kind of pat it on. So I just set the rest of my face. My next tip is for bronzer. If you don't have yourself one of these jumbo kabuki brushes and you're trying to get, more into contouring, or if you're really new to makeup, pick yourself up one of these brushes. I will link the one I use down below. So I'm just gonna dust some bronzer on here, and today I am using the L'Oreal Lumi bronzer. So this just makes it super easy to just get in nice and precise and hit it exactly where you want it to go. So for bronzer, what I do is I can see where my cheekbone is, where this line is right here. I don't want to put any bronzer in the bottom half of my face. So I want it to be right here. So I'm going to take this nice precise brush and just dust it. And as you can see, it just really kind of chisels and accentuates that line. So my next tip is for blush. This one comes in handy for me all the time. I am constantly messing up my blush, and this is really a game changer. So today I am using the Becca, and this is in the shade Songbird. It is one of my favorite blushes. However, it is super pigmented, and it is really easy to go in with way too much, way too quick, and it just starts to look scary. So typically when I do my blush, I like to apply it back in here. So from right above where I put that bronzer and backing up, if that makes sense. So I really try to avoid anywhere from the apples of my cheeks over towards my nose. So it's not on the apples of my cheeks, but sometimes it does kind of get in this area and it looks real messy real quick. I do a little smile, and obviously I'm trying to brush it up and back, but sometimes you can see right in here, I get like way too close to my nose and in this area, and it just does not look good. So there is a super simple trick to fix this. With your foundation brush, you don't put any extra product on it, so it's just the foundation that was left over from when you put your foundation on. So what I do is I just go right in and I focus like in this area and I just stamp. So it just kind of marries everything together and your blush isn't so like poof, like if that makes sense. This is one of my favorite little hacks, especially for bronzer too. So if you put bronzer on and it's just looking sloppy, so you got like a bunch of it down in here, just take that same brush that you use to apply your foundation, or you could go in with the same brush that you use to put on your concealer. That's totally fine too, but just go in and kind of pat it out. You can go under here, just tap and pat and just really like carve out what you put down. So my next hack is if you put your makeup on and you're just looking super powdery, or your blush and your bronzer, it's just not sitting right on your face, you're gonna go back in with this Fix Plus and you're gonna either spray it directly onto your face, and I would, put it out a good 12 inches at least from your face and just do one nice spritz on your face. Or if there's just certain areas, you're gonna go ahead and spray it onto your beauty sponge and just kind of tap it in where it looks a little bit cakey. But what I would really recommend is just doing this first and waiting and see if it just kind of marries everything together and just makes it look all like homogeneous or uniform, so that everything really looks nice and blended. So I personally like to do this step before I do my highlighter, and let me explain why. So if you really want a highlight that looks like really just wet and natural, you're gonna wanna go in with the Fix Plus first. When you go in with this first, it's a little bit tacky, and then after that, when you go in with your highlight brush and you brush it on, it just kind of soaks it in and it makes it look like a lit from within, and it does not make it look chalky at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Sometimes the spritzer on this thing is funny, like it just like spits out and it's not so like uniform and mist-like. That's the one thing that I don't like about this, but I just use my fingers, or I'll go in front of a fan and just kind of let it dry really quick. So while it's still tacky, I like to go in with my brush. Today I am using the Becca Champagne Pop. It's one of my absolute favorites. It's like perfect, I feel like, for all year round. I'm gonna take a little bit on. This is actually a Real Technique setting brush. And while my skin is still tacky, I'm gonna go in and just dust it on. And I hit it like right above my blush. But I just think that using the Fix Plus first just makes it go on so nice. It makes it look so pretty. If you have real oily skin and you've never tried this before, be real careful, be real light-handed when you go in with this, because your face will look like an oil slick real quick. So that's the only tip that I do have. If that does happen, all I do is I take my big powder brush, I dip it back in the powder, and I just pop a little bit of powder on. It really is a balancing act, I feel like, with makeup. You have to kind of work it a little bit to get everything to look right, if that makes sense. So sometimes with me, it's like I'll put makeup on and I'm looking way too greasy, and I have to go in and do a little bit of powder and then maybe come back and add a little bit of highlight. It's all a balancing act. Moving on to eyebrows. I have a couple of tricks for this, especially if you're new to brows or if you're growing out your brows. For me, I plucked way too heavy in this area like 6 months ago, so I'm still trying to like grow it out. And naturally I would have super bushy brows, but I do pluck them, and I do use a stencil from time to time just to really get my shape back, because I want them to be a little bit fuller. So if you didn't see that video, I'll put it up above in the cards if you wanted to see specifically how I do my brows. So I'm gonna put my brows on, and as I'm doing it, I'm just gonna show you a couple of mistakes that I typically can make and how I correct them. So I'm gonna do it right here. I feel like this is a very common mistake that I make. As you can see, it is completely whack right here. So I typically like to do a pencil just to get the shape, and then I love going in with like a brow powder. I've been really liking the Brow Gal, and this is in the shade brown. There are 3 different shades to choose from. I typically mix the dark shade here on the end and then a tiny bit of the middle shade. But before I do that, I am going to clean up this section that I really botched with the pencil. So what I like to do is take a flat angle brush, and I take, this is the Maybelline Cover Stick. So I'm just gonna get a little bit on my brush there, because you might be tempted to take your finger and just kind of like wipe off the pencil, but then you're gonna be messing with the makeup that you put down. So this is what I like to do. So you can see right here, like I have the shape on this brow going like gradually up, but on this brow, it's looking a little janky like right here. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the little concealer and I'm just going to pretty much erase that little bit. So now I am gonna continue on with the, and then I'll show you and then my next little hack. Okay, so your brows are on, but you're feeling like in here, they're looking really boxy, or they're looking like really, I don't know, just like too much, too bold. What I do is I go back in with my foundation brush, or going with your concealer brush. I'm gonna use my concealer brush this time just because I use my foundation brush for like everything else. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're just gonna stamp, not like super hard, just like that. Stamp over the inner portion of your brow. That is just gonna diffuse the product and not make it look so harsh. So I typically have to do this quite a bit because you want them to be like gradually fading, if that makes sense. And I feel like this is a super common mistake or a super common complaint is people put their brows on and they're just looking way too harsh. So that just works really good just to soften things up a bit. I don't really do it towards the end. I just focus it like on the inner portion of my brows. So I am going to do my eyeshadow and speed through a little bit of this so I can show you my next trick. Okay, so my next tip comes in right here. So you've done your eyeshadow, you worked really hard, you go to put on your mascara, and I did use my L'Oreal Lash Paradise Primer first. So that's what you see, that's white. So you go in to do your mascara, and as you're doing it, the mascara from your lash gets on your eyelid crease. So as you can see, there's a bunch of black right there. So don't panic, and a lot of what I see as far as like tips and tricks for this is to wait, let it dry, and then go in with like a clean spoolie brush, something like that, and then just kind of let it flake off. So the thing about doing that is if you do that like over where you put your eye makeup, you're gonna ruin your eye look. So what I like to do is I will just move on and put mascara on my other lashes, wait for this side to dry. And then what I do is I go in with my blender brush. So today I used this blender brush, and I use the same color that I had put down for my transition shade. I do not add any more of the color to the brush, at least yet. The goal here is to dust the black off, but also like put down product so that it just blends. If you do this while it's wet, by doing this, you got it. You're gonna be wiping like black smear everywhere. So you have to wait until it's dry and then go in with your brush. I don't put any additional shadow on, and I just start blending back and forth, just like in that area, and it literally just hides it and blends it away. So for the look I did today, I did use a little bit of the L'Oreal. This is in the shade Amber Rush. So what would happen if the mascara got like on the portion that was on my lid, I would just go in, put a little bit on my finger here, and just kind of like tap it on right over it, and that would do the same thing. So as you can see, it just blended it away and there's no mess. You're not having to deal with like using a spoolie and scraping, you know, your eye makeup off. Sometimes it's a little bit stubborn and I will have to go back in with the shade that I used, put it on the brush and go ahead and blend it. But for the most part, that trick works every single time. So I'm gonna finish my mascara and then we'll move on to my next little trick. So now that my mascara is on, I'm gonna share with you my next little hack. So I do use 3 mascaras most of the time. Well, actually 2. So I use a primer. I use one mascara that's typically like a volumizing one, and then I finish up with a lengthening one like the L'Oreal Telescopic in Carbon Black. So most of the time I do curl my eyelashes prior to doing, you know, my primer, but the trick is to do it after you've done your mascara. Now, I did a lash routine probably like 2 years ago, and I'll put it up above. It's a little dated. I probably have to do a new one, but if you want to see like start to finish a more in-depth tutorial like about my lashes, check that video out. So what you're going to want to do is there's 3 things to making this work. 1, your lashes need to be dry. 2, your lash curler needs to be clean. So the little rubber part here, make sure that there's no other like stuck on gross mascara. And 3, you have to be super patient and do it very, very slow. So this hack works to get them like really curled and lifted and really nice and separated. So my lashes right now, you can see that they're a little bit like, I don't know how else to describe it, like they're like doing their own thing. So I feel like if you're not using falsies, this is really that trick to get them all uniform and even. Okay, so now that they're dry, I'm gonna go in with my lash curler here nice and slow. So you just wanna make sure that all of your lashes are within the curler and gently close it. Then what I do is I kind of put a little bit of pressure, not as hard, and as I'm, you know, clamping it, I take my finger here and I just kind of press the lashes back. And now would be a good time to go in with a spoolie if you have any clumps and just separate them. So I just kind of do like little squeezes, little pulses, and just press the lash back. Now, very slowly, you're gonna release that clamp, and your lashes should nicely just pull away. As you can see, it gives like way more of a curl and just holds everything in place. So my next little tricks are all about making your lips look the best that they can. So the first thing that I like to do is do a little contour of my lower lip. I like to use like any type of a foundation stick that's darker than your skin tone. So this is a cream. What I do is I take, this is actually a Real Techniques shadow brush. I like to use any kind of like a little brush like this that's small enough and like precise enough, but has a nice little angle to it. So I am just gonna focus it just right under my lower lip, and I wait until the end, like when I'm doing my lips, to do this. I don't know why, it's just what I do. And you just wanna sweep it right under your lip. And it just adds like a nice little poutiness and a contour. So that's something that's really, really simple to do. So next up is how I apply my lip liner, because I feel like it's kind of hard to do lip liner. Mine always comes out like crooked, I feel like. So I just do the bottom like as I normally would, and what helps is if I kind of go like this, and I try to just start it like exactly where my natural lip line is. And I just do a little bit at a time. Okay, so I feel like the main little trick I have to share with you is right here. So what I do is, instead of just lining them like this, like just going like that, because it's like very flimsy, I feel like, what I like to do to make sure I get like the most straight, the most full line is I do like I'm going to smile. So I just kind of go like this. I know it looks like a little funky, but I feel like it's much easier to line something that's like gives you some friction, I guess, or I guess like a better grip. I don't know how to explain it. So you're just gonna go to like smile, and it's gonna really just show you that line. And I like to just kind of go slow. So as you can see, like just by doing that, and I'm following my natural lip line, it's just kind of stretching it out. So you're getting like the most of your lips to create a poutier lip. You don't want to overline it all like out here, because then you're gonna look like a fat mouth. I don't know how else to explain it. So I do the same thing for whatever lip product I'm using. So if it's a lipstick, if it is like a lip gloss, I apply that same technique. So today I'm gonna be using my L'Oreal lip paints. This is in the shade Tongue Tied. It's one of my favorites, and it has a really nice like curve at the end to get a really nice precise application. So I do that same thing. I go to do like a smile. I know it looks like really funky, but trust me, it just works. So it just goes like a tiny bit over your natural lip line. And then on the bottom, I'm gonna do the same thing. Just do like a smile and just get it in there nice and precise. So it just kind of creates this like your lips but better, and I feel like it looks very natural and just makes them look like as plump as they can be. So I'm gonna use a little bit of the Becca lip gloss as a lip topper. I just think that putting a little bit of this over top of this lip combination, I just like the way it looks, especially over like a matte lip. And rather than dragging it like over a lipstick that I just placed, I just like to tap it. This is literally one of my favorite lip combinations. Okay, so that's everything for today's beauty tips and tricks. If you guys want to see another one of these, I have a bunch more that I could share, so just let me know and I would be more than happy to make another one. If you like this, please give this video a like. Please comment, please subscribe. This way I know that you actually like my channel and my videos. If you're new, say hi. If you want, let me know what some of your favorites are, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.